Thank you. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call to order, please.
Mr. Benton?
Here.
Mrs. Brewer? Here. Mrs. Davis? Here. Mrs. Thomas? Here. Mr. Swager?
Here. Do we have anyone sign up? No. Okay. Over to you, Ms. Pulley, for the treasurer's report.
Very short tonight. One set of minutes from June 16th regular session, and hopefully you all did get treasurer's report this morning when it went out, and that is all I've got today.
All right. If I can get a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Dixon.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to provide the board with an updated spreadsheet. I've been passing these out periodically just to give you an idea of where we are on our staffing employment for next year. We're making good progress. We still are needing candidates for a few more para positions, cook positions, and one maintenance position that is still open. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total positions we're still trying to fill. Not bad given the total number we've been working with over the summer. I remind the board that July 10th is coming up, which is the deadline for any current employees to let their current employer know that they will be resigning for next year, after which time we can hold the contracts pending ability to find a suitable replacement. So hopefully we don't see any more transitioning this year, but I want you to be aware of where we are as of today with your actions tonight, employing some of these on the agenda. With that, I'm ready to move on with general recommendations.
Works for me. Thank you.
Only one general recommendation this evening, and I want to thank the members of the policy committee, Mrs. Davis, Mr. Benton, Mrs. Seibel, and Mrs. Pulley for working through the various policies recommended for updates in the second half of the school year. The board should have received about a month ago the copies of those that the committee did not deem appropriate to move forward on. Most of those were pending further changes that are expected in law. So we didn't want to do it and then come back and do it again next year when the law changes. It just didn't make sense. So, and you have copies of those that were rejected by the committee. And then there are the 7 that I put before you this evening. Rather simple changes in each of these, but it would bring you up to date on these particular policies going into next year. So I recommend them for your approval this evening, and I'm sure committee members will be open to any questions you might have.
If I can get a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
I would still appreciate the possibility that we get to know our new superintendent and hear his thoughts on these recommendations and on some policies we have hanging out there that were much more urgent than the ones that are listed. Comment.
And on the 2271, the college credit plus.
Yes.
What changed on that one?
That was a selective service change. There's a new requirement in the law that they have to register for selective service before getting college credit plus in schools.
Was that the only change? That's all I saw
That's
in that. Okay.
That's it in that particular policy.
Okay.
So as the law changes, you have to change your current policy, or we in the district, a principal will go and look at that and not know that selective service requirements in there, and therefore we're signing kids up for college credit plus, and we're not advising parents properly. So if we don't make these changes in policy, it affects our operations day in and day out as employees look at them. So that's one example.
Okay. That's the only thing I saw. That's why I was questioning on that, if there was any other substantial change.
Right. So I have suggested, getting these out at least, a month in advance. Committee likes that. So board members have a chance to read them over, ask any questions in the meantime before we bring them to the board for approval. So going forward, Mr. Wagner will have the process to do with as he needs to with the board regarding policies, but the policies in the district definitely need addressed. And I think the members of the committee understand that now, having reviewed the various policies in the last two packets.
My other question on 237001, the blended learning. Do we have any intention or are we doing blended learning that policy affects?
That policy simply, there was a change in law dealing with the definition of blended learning. There's only like one line in there that changed in that definition. But if there ever is time when we would want to use blended learning, then we would want to have that up to date.
Okay. But there was no intent that we were going to this at any point.
No, we have
No.
online learning. This gets very confusing for
Well, that's
folks.
right.
Okay, Tim, it gets very confusing. Blended learning, and you can have an online school within a school, and there's a lot of requirements that go with that. This year, there's been some changes with regard to having to track all the hours that students are on blended learning. I mean, if they're on a separate school within a school, that's one thing. What we do is offer online opportunities to enhance the curriculum, electives, as well as offer ways for acceleration and also offer remediation through online classes. So it's different than the formal blended learning process. We filed blended learning plans with the state during COVID,
Right.
just in case.
I was just curious because I read that and I just want to make sure there was no intent. that
Believe
we
me,
were-
it's very confusing.
On the revised use of credit cards, Kim, what changed on that for your department?
I don't think we changed a dollar amount.
No, I
It was just
think it was just language.
It was
I
who
do.
could,
Here you
who
go,
could
Kim.
physically
Who
get
can
the
use
credit
it.
cards.
Yes.
That's what we changed.
It wasn't any dollar amount. And then all the other process of checking on stuff, nothing else has changed on that.
So it's just who could get it. Right now, the secretaries have to come and get it if the principal needs it. So we just amended it so that the principals can also come and get it. The process is the same. Kim
Yep.
is still in charge of everything. It's just who can physically
Yep,
come and
it was
sign
just
out.
people.
So we added the principals onto that and that was it, other than the existing list.
Yeah, I don't think there was any dollar amount change.
No, there was no dollar amount changes,
No process change.
no process changes. And yes, we did add the principals.
I want to ask a question.
Where's,
Excuse me, go
I'm
ahead. On that same one, are you,
I didn't see, I'm sorry. This one, for some reason, did not print out very well for me, and I think it's my printer, not, but where did you see where you designated the principals?
On page 3 of 5,
I'm sorry.
about halfway down the page there, letter F.
I see it now. Thank you.
Can you give me examples of what we use that credit card for? Like what would a principal come get? I just don't know.
So if they are providing, for example, a meal for a staff professional development day that they're providing from the principal's fund, they may use it for that. I think they've done it for like Halloween candy, those types of small things.
Okay. That's the typical use of it, those small items like
Oh,
that. And obviously you oversee that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have to sign out the card, then sign it back in and provide receipts.
Ruth Ann, on to you on
well,
that.
I come from a different angle on that one, and perhaps it isn't valid for anybody else here, but on the oversight committee, and as we're decorating schools or trying to finish projects, there are times that we need to have an opportunity to go shopping. We certainly have never overspent. We certainly try to set an amount before we go shopping, but if you have to make 6 trips to buy enough items to finish a project, and you're donating your time to begin with, and I'm not speaking just for myself, but we had a committee, that gets really frustrating. Now, I did have a nice agreement. I haven't had an occasion to need it with Kim, and I feel sure we could talk it out. But when you specifically limit that in policy with no exceptions, Kim's going to have to go by that, I assume. There's no exception to that policy. Is that correct?
Well, there's no change to what we've been doing on.
I know, but what I'm trying to bring forth is, I haven't been to you, but to our previous treasurer, we did what we needed to do to finish some of the projects in the school, and we haven't finished some of them yet. So how does a board member or another member, even of the community, how do we address that opportunity for extremely limited use with very stringent guidelines to happen to make some volunteer work possible? You can't. So I just bring that to, if there are no exceptions and we're putting a policy with no exceptions, then I think that could be harmful to those who want to donate time and effort and are paid in their private lives to do certain things, decorate a school, decorate a home, but they can't even get $1.50 to buy anything at Hobby Lobby.
Well, in that case, we would do like an estimate. If you knew something, a few things that you're going to get, we could say, $50 or $100 or whatever the estimate was.
Sometimes it went to 500 because we were upholstering furniture.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, and if you feel that policy gives enough latitude, I'll buy in. But if it doesn't, I'm concerned about it.
Well, didn't we added the board members to the policy when we were giving out teacher appreciation, and then the process was to go through all the board members to get approval. So is that what I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're saying. Is that what you're
And that's good.
asking a question about? Because we have that policy where if a board member needs it and gets approval from all the remaining board members and treasurers.
I think that's wonderful. I'm sorry.
No, I just wasn't
I'm
sure if
sorry
I
to
was
be
understanding.
argumentative, but
No.
our committee was paralyzed because we've had to go through so many steps to get. We ended up paying for it ourselves, hoping for reimbursement. And for me, I couldn't get reimbursement because I'm a board member, or I shouldn't, so I didn't. I'm just saying, make sure that we have enough latitude. If Kim wants to give some variance to that policy, we ought to be thinking, if it's a board member or if it's a community member that is specifically assigned to a project, that they have the resources to finish the project. Weight room was one, the elementary school was another. I could go on and name projects we didn't have money for. And it's a shame not to finish those little extra things that makes our school so special. So, and I know you've never said no, Kim. I wouldn't even begin to suggest that. I just want to be sure the policy has some latitude. Do you think it does?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm looking through this, and again, it may be the printer, but a couple of these look to be highlighted on that 3 of 5. It looks like J has some highlight in there.
Jay, it's just that it is. That
It's-
is new to the policy, but not to. Sorry, I shouldn't say new to the policy. It is. That's where the change is. J is not the change.
Yeah.
F was the change, but the whole section is highlighted.
Okay, so F, the principles, was the change
Right.
to that,
To
but the
that
whole thing's
section.
highlighted. Okay, because
Right.
that's what I was reading. I didn't understand how J was highlighted because it appeared as though that had been in policy.
Right.
That's where we have that line in J, Ruth Ann, where members of the Board of Education, the treasurer shall notify all board members when one member uses a credit card to report on the amount and description of use. So you don't have to get approval, but they just basically
And
notify
that's
everybody.
okay. That works.
Okay.
The other didn't work,
Yeah.
but we were denied opportunity to do that.
So that's in this new policy as well.
And realize we didn't narrow anything. All we did was expand the principles. And it's a timing issue because the office professionals, they leave at a different time during the day. And sometimes things may come up later in the day, and then someone could not physically come and get the credit.
Oh, I don't think on my stand. I mean, look, if I don't trust my principals enough to come get a credit card and use it responsibly, I probably got the wrong people in the building anyways. So,
So moved.
from the principal stand, it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's
No.
making sure we're covered in the other areas and using it as, it becomes problematic when we, go out and get gift cards for groups as thank you. It becomes difficult at times. So I think that covers it.
And for the sake of clarity, we have to ask for permission of what we want to use that credit card for before we can.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like all pre-approved.
Right. Okay. Any questions on the other one? And then food services. Did anyone have any questions on that one?
Did
That was
Max
just-
flip it over?
That was my other question on food services.
Did Max review that policy?
Is 8,500? Was there any changes that were in 8,500
I
that he
can't
needed
answer
to?
the question about Max, but the only change was the offering of milk.
Right.
Right.
And does that affect his operation in any way? He runs a tight ship, and he
Sure.
obviously. I just want to make sure he's aware of anything we're changing in policy before
Well,
we do
even
it.
if we're not changing it, I think procedurally, we should go to those people who are affected, whether it's a principal or a director or whatever it might be. They should review our policy before we say, yeah, that's great. It's been going on for years. We wanted to keep it that way.
All
I
it was
think
is
it's
that
a
they used to
procedure.
have to offer milk, but if a child has a specific non-dairy item that they require, like almond milk, that they would bring in like a note saying, my child needs this alternative.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
Sure,
it.
sure,
I'm
sure.
just saying procedurally,
Yeah.
I think we need to work a little differently than we have.
We'd like those, as we go through these policies, to ensure that whoever it directly affects at least gets a cursory review for comment. Not,
That's
we
right.
may or may
Sure.
not honor their comment, but
Right. Most of the time they will have received, like on this case, he's going to be fully aware from notes coming from the state of the change in the need for the note and that type of thing. So it's probably already in practice. We just need to make sure the policies are up to date.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
And then on the revised grant funds, 6110 is the change adding on page 2, maintenance of effort, maintenance of equity. That statement in there?
Yes.
That's the only change I saw, right? Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Any other questions, comments? Call the roll. Oh, hold on.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Call the roll.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Boer,
No.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
No.
Mr. Swager.
Yes. Mr. Jackson?
Next, have a few personnel items to bring before the board. I have them as a consent agenda that can pull out any separately if you wish. Under item 9A, I'm asking the board to approve the resignation of Lauren Napoleolo of high school ELA.
Lauren who?
You're going to make me say it again. Thank you very much.
I just thought it was funny.
I always butcher Napoleolo.
right.
Napoleolo.
Napoleolo.
My apologies, Lauren. Under item B, we'd like to approve the employment of Melissa DeHart as elementary dean of students. In just a moment, I will ask the candidates to come forward and let you see who they are, put a face to them. Under item C, asking approval for Megan Van Horn to serve as high school English language arts teacher and Nicole White to serve as high school Spanish teacher. Under item D, asking the board to approve Heidi Holbrook to serve as middle school educational paraprofessional. Under item E, asking approval for Melissa Dyer to serve as track assistant coach for the middle school. Under item F are the approvals for pupil activity positions. Kevin Archibald as reserve baseball coach and Travis Carpenter as varsity baseball coach for next year. Under item G, asking for approval for Amanda Benito to serve as middle school track and field coach, and Mike Hewitt to serve as varsity baseball coach. Under item also under that same item, Ben Josiah and Lance Myers and Riley Schaffner in positions listed there. Under item H, to approve the resignation of Debbie Wenzel from intervention specialist position. And at this time, before you call the motion, I'd like to invite Melissa DeHart. If you could go to the podium, I'd like to introduce you to the board. Melissa comes to us via Licking Valley Schools, where she has been elementary teacher since 1998 and served in many leadership capacities. So Melissa, tell just a brief thing about yourself and
So as he said, my name is Melissa DeHart. I want to thank you very much for inviting me here. And I want to thank Mr. Dixon and Ms. Seibel and Mrs. Wilson for interviewing and offering me the position. And I have lived in Granville for almost 30 years now. And have taught at Valley for 24, and since 2009 I've wanted to be an administrator, and the timing of everything has just fit perfectly. And I'm offered the job, and like I said, thank you so much. I am raising my 2 nieces over in Granville that I've had custody of since 2010. So Victoria, my oldest, just graduated high school and is going on to COTC to be a nurse. And my youngest is going to be a junior at Granville Christian Academy. So
Great.
thank you very much.
Thanks for being here this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Busenberg, would you like to introduce Megan and Nicole to us?
Yes, thank you. I am really excited to introduce 2 new teachers to our staff. They went through the interview process, and we are thrilled to have them. So first, I would like to ask Megan Van Horn to come up. She will be our English teacher. She spent 1 year at Green High School, then relocated to Central Ohio, and has been over at Genoa Christian Academy for the last 4 years. So really excited to have her. You want to come up and say a few words?
Hello, I'm Megan Van Horn. Thank you so much for having me here. I am truly, really excited to join Johnstown and be a part of this community. Everyone has already been so welcoming. Like you heard, I have been at Genoa Christian Academy for the past 4 years. I absolutely love teaching. And like I said, I'm excited to continue to grow and help the students here at Johnstown. I'm from Menford, Ohio. No one usually knows where that is. It's in Southern Ohio. I went to Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia, and I've been teaching ever since. I have 2 little boys, Grayson and Dexter. They are 5 and 7, and I live in Sunbury. So thanks again for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And to teach Spanish, we have Nicole White. Nicole comes to us with over about 10 years of teaching experience and about 10 years of private sector experience. So she has kind of bounced back and forth over the last 20 years, but we are really pleased to have her. And her teaching strategy in the world of Spanish education, there's kind of the traditional approach, very heavy on grammar, and the approach we've adopted in the last 5 or 6 years, which is conversational and teaching with comprehensible inputs, and kind of a new way of teaching that focuses on speaking instead of just grammar. And so we were thrilled to find Nicole because she comes from that. She was an adopter very early on of that philosophy and has even taught the curriculum that we have. So we're excited she'll be just kind of a seamless addition to our Spanish staff. So Nicole.
Buenas tardes. Me llamo Nicole. But that's really how Spanish class starts for me and our students. So anyway, thank you for offering me this position. I'm really excited. I was really blown away during the interview to find that Senora Cahill teaches the way I do because it is a unique way. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. My last teaching position was 2 years ago. I was at Columbus Academy in their middle school, where we did a lot of comprehensible input, which is what we call our philosophy. And I live in Granville as well, which is really nice to meet Melissa, who's a neighbor, basically. I have 3 kids. My husband and I have 3 kids, a sophomore, an 8th grader, and a 7th grader. So that's a little bit about myself and my family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So members of the board, these are my recommendations this evening, and I'm very happy to have the 3 brand new Johnnies with us this evening.
If I can get a motion,
So moved.
can we get a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Obviously, thank you. Looking forward to your input in addition to the academics here at Johnstown. I also want to thank the volunteers that we have on here and the coaches. We all know they put in much more time and effort than the position. Glad to see that we have these volunteers for track and field and baseball and that. Those are always critical to us. Talked Mike Hewitt into volunteering yet again. That's nice to see, but welcome aboard and glad to see everyone.
On the coaches for the baseball, Ken, do you know what we did with them last year? Because when you pull up the information, I always go back and look and see what we did the previous years. But there's a discrepancy from the July 5th, 2021 agenda and minutes that we filed.
Is that on the step?
Well, it's on a step, but also the minutes say that we hired Coach Carpenter as the track coach. Last year? Last year, yeah. It's the July.
He doesn't look very fast at all.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, we might have to go back and amend those minutes if necessary. I can assure you I saw him in the baseball dugout.
And I did too, but
Yeah.
I mean, I went back to try to see, I always look back to see, and then I caught that, and then that's when I went to the agenda to see what it was. And the agenda had the right coach, but it doesn't on the minutes. So then the salary scale is wrong. The group that we have them in is wrong.
On this
For this
tier.
year?
The minutes,
Okay. From the minutes of last year.
so
those minutes need to be taken.
We just want to confirm what Ann is asking. Is Group 2, Step 6 correct this year as Travis Carpenter for varsity baseball? And is Group 3, Step 2 correct for Kevin Archibald? Is that what you're? Yeah, for this year,
This
are
year
those
should-
correct?
That's correct.
We want to make sure that,
we've got the right.
Yeah,
scale
them-
to the right person, and if we need to amend these minutes from July, we should, since we know he was the baseball coach and not the track coach.
Good catch.
Travis Carpenter's is correct this year, based on the contract from last year.
and Step 2, it's his second year, so that should be. Archibald was coach this year. Next year will be his second year. As that takes him to Step 2 on that.
Yes.
Okay, we just need to correct the minutes then.
It's the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Boer,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Swager.
Yes, motion carries. Any committee reports, additional board business?
No, personally, I hope to take a walkthrough of the intermediate school tomorrow. So if anybody's interested, you can join that time. I haven't set a time yet, but thinking around noon. I won't be serving lunch, but cafeteria's not open.
You can just bring it. You don't have to serve
There
it.
you go. Peanut butter jelly.
They moved a lot of furniture in today.
I saw the desk out behind the building when I came in
With
today.
the help of 50 football players.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
It
great.
went off like clockwork, even in the rain.
Excellent.
We really appreciate the help of the football team this year. Dave Jenny organized that with Mr. Carter, Coach Carter, and I understand it went exceptionally well. And I also understand they can eat pizza. So really appreciate the
Growing young
help.
men.
That's right.
And
So I think
ladies.
they're down to just maybe 2 small lift truck moves, and they'll be complete with the items. We will have, I understand, we will have a lot of items left over, furniture-wise. It needs to be analyzed, determine how, what we'll do with that as far as selling it. That'll be forthcoming in August.
And what's our plan for the playground area in the back? Is that just going to we're not getting any
Well, that got
additional
in-
equipment, right?
That's got to be reviewed and examined. It got inspected.
Okay.
We had the inspection done
And
by
we have had some rumbling that there would be a donation for something back there, if you
Okay.
recall.
Yes.
I can't say it yet, but we
Sure.
did. So if that comes through, that would be.
I
There-
didn't know if there were additional plans or if we get something great,
Yeah.
but
We
we
don't
aren't,
know if we
we
don't
aren't,
know.
no, but
Yeah.
we are not.
Additional
It's not a part of
equipment,
our
I
plan.
understand they were going to look at the PTO for some help as well. I can tell you the mulch will be replaced totally and the new border around it.
Okay.
That's in the works.
The asphalt looks really nice.
It does. It does.
All right. Any
But
other
then
questions?
I just
comments?
have one more comment. This being my last board meeting as your superintendent, I just want to thank you very much as a board for giving me the privilege to serve as your superintendent for 8+ years. It's been a privilege. So wish Dr. Wagner the absolute best as he comes into the August meeting. And hopefully we've got everything pretty well set for a smooth start of the school year for you. And I know you're going to do a great job. So thank you, board, for the privilege. Look forward to watching Johnstown grow in the future and watching our Johnnies grow and grow and grow. It's been a great time. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Dale. And as we know here on the board, you'll be around for another 3 or 4 weeks here. So,
Oh, absolutely. We'll be around longer than that,
yes.
but not as your superintendent.
Right.
And at my calendar, do we have a work session planned for July or no?
We do not.
Okay.
'Cause
It
in
wasn't
the
on
summer-
there, so I
correct.
assumed-
For the summer months, we didn't. But
Okay.
we'll pick it up there in August.
And the transition is going extremely smooth. Phil's been available. He's been at events, been around town. It's nice. He was greeting people around at the 4th of July event on Sunday. The transition could not go smoother. And we keep looking at each other and saying, it's just amazing how much things are so similar between our districts and the needs. And again, wish you all the very best going forward.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Executive session, are we,
Do we want to?
yes or no? Well, we had a few things we talked about. I don't know if you want to.
Mr. Brickner was not available for the meeting tonight. He's on his way back from vacation.
Yeah, he won't be back till late this evening. He's driving in from Wisconsin, but he said he could avail himself to meet later this week.
I will. I was going to meet with him later this week to have discussion with him
An update?
after I talk to him later this week.
Okay. So you don't want to have a work session so that we can go through some of those things before they get to old news?
Well, we can.
Well, I think it's probably a question for the board. If nobody wants to review it, I think there were 2 areas that were kind of bumping around there. Maybe we needed to talk about them.
I didn't know if we were doing it then or at the first meeting in August.
I don't care. As long as we're not waiting too long.
Right.
The person who was injured in this whole discussion
Yeah.
may have been injured in the discussion.
Well, do you want to go into executive session real quick to talk about personnel?
Yes, we also
Yes.
Yep.
I have that on my list too.
First meeting of August. We're supposed to have it completed by July to do it the first meeting of August. So we need to get that done as well. And Kim, I know we need you. I'll over to you, but your appraisal that we do, and then the board will do the appraisal, and then we'll sit down together as we've done in the past.
Mm.
So we'll use that format that we've used previously. I think it's served us well.
Yeah.
If everyone's good.
We just
Okay.
need to do it.
Okay. I'll send that back out. No, we're good. Do we want to go into executive session
I
for any
think
other?
we need maybe
5
15
minutes.
minutes.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
If I can get a motion for executive session for personnel, if I can get a second,
Second.
call the roll.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Swagger.
Yes, 5:35, and no action is expected afterwards. Thank you.
Do you want to